welcome, friends, to another episode of Hobby Hotline. This is episode 361. We're here on For Collectors. I'm your host for today, John, the 3D80s Kid. And with me, I've got Uncle Rich Klein and Lauren. Rich, how are things going for you?
Oh, things are. It's 80 degrees in the DFW area in the middle of November. I mean, summer has never left, so it's good. I'd like to see fall, but summer's not bad. I just don't want to see winter.
All right, awesome. Lauren, your new digs for this week's episode, aren't you? You want to tell the folks where you are?
Yeah, opposite of Rich, I am sick of the hot weather. We've been chasing fall so we can see the leaves changing, and I am in Las Vegas today. We've been all over the place, but today, Las Vegas.
All right. And from my perspective, that's a perfect location for that first topic of today, which is Arena Club is advertising right now. They're adding vintage packs. We're also going to be talking about missing hobby grails that have been at least not known to be found, and discussing that, as well as then overall health of the hobby, as well as some of our holiday plans. And just in case anybody is confused, it is next week's episode that Dr. Beckett will be on. So you're not going to want to miss that. I'm sure it's going to be, I'm guessing it's going to be very well attended, and hopefully everyone is respectful. So, but I'm going to say welcome to the chat here. We got Stukes. Welcome. Brian Hodges, 1455. We've got Peter B. Undrafted player, welcome. We've got The Card Story, Matt, welcome. Steven up from Canada, Rip Fan 8 there. Peacemaker Cards, welcome, David. We've got the Hashing Rabbi, that I think is the handle for Doc Van Hoot, if I'm not mistaken. Jeremy from California, welcome. Mike, Jayhawker Vintage Cards. Barry, welcome. We got Mad City Brew. We got White Soxton, welcome. Larry Gitlin, Warren from the CLE, welcome everybody. Let's go ahead and get into the show, but before I start that, I'm going to say again, you can be a part of the show if you want to join in on the discussion. I have put the link. It is the top comment right now on your screen with that StreamYard link if you want to be a part of the show and discuss some of these topics we're talking about here. So I'm going to try to keep posting that in there. It's also available in the description on YouTube. So I put together a little slideshow visual aid to help us through our topics here. So once again, another plug, be right here next week, 1 week from today. I don't have the new graphic yet, but Mike Junkwax Hero is going to be doing the hosting duties now. And Theo is going to be furiously operating in the studio in the background because we are anticipating that being a wild show. So extra help has been brought in for reinforcements there. But today's show, we got Arena Club adding vintage packs, missing hobby grails, hobby health and holiday plans. So let's get into it. Arena Club. So this is a topic where I'd heard about it from the periphery. I understood what it was happening. I saw the massive glittery booth at the National this last year, in which there was a lot of attractive young women luring people into the booth to try it, as per usual of something in this hobby of a new product, new company. But I dove in a little bit before we start this discussion of what exactly is going on with their websites. If you haven't heard of it all, it is you're opening a digital pack that has a graded card in that pack and there are different price points, which I was not aware of how high these went. They start at $25 for their lowest level. They've got the $50 silver, $100 gold, $250 at ruby, emerald at 500, diamond at 1,000, and these legendary packs for $2,500, which had me choking a little bit as far as willing to gamble on screen digitally that high of amount. But yeah, I also am a person who loves to dig into the fine print, and I found a couple of interesting things in their terms and conditions. First of which, the short story of this whole screen of text is that every time you open one, they give you an instantaneous offer to buy back your card at what they guesstimate the value to be minus a 10% processing fee. So take that what you will. I feel like that's going to lead to not a lot of people actually bringing a card home. But the next thing that found very interesting, a slab pack might be shut down or terminated at any time, even before all cards are distributed. When we run out of inventory to support a slab pack composition, the slab pack can be terminated even if the Grails have not been distributed. So they're basically giving themselves an out clause to never actually give away the big cards, is how I feel that is written there legally. So I don't know. That leads to my first question. From 0 to 100, please reply in the chat. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. 0 being horrible, 100 is great. How do you view Arena Club in this hobby? Rich, what are your thoughts on this?
First, I'm a 50. This does not affect my life in any way. Second, if this gets a few people into the world of vintage, one way or the other, I'm okay with it. I mean, if you got $2,500 to spend, you're probably more of a gambler type on this than somebody who's actually doing. But if you're at $25, you're going to get something close, if it's really a vintage card that's graded, to your value. And as I said, if we get a few people who can get into the vintage world and say, hey, these are just cool cards, then it's probably a win for the hobby, but maybe a loss on the short term for the person who got into it, but they start enjoying the older cards. So I don't want to say it's a nothing burger, but it's close to a nothing burger for me.
All right. Well, Lauren, what do you think about this?
Well, full disclosure, I did an interview for Collectibles on SI. I think back in January. I got to speak to Derek Jeter and Brian Lee, so I am familiar with Arena Club, and take that inherent bias as you will. But I'm familiar with how they operate. That they've had non-sport, they've had Pokemon, they've had baseball, basketball, vintage. I was very surprised at, but I do agree with Rich that if it does, if people are kind of bored of whatever's going on, they're like, well, maybe I'll check out vintage because they're already in Arena Club and they like it. Then I think that that's a good thing. I personally am not like big on, like repacks and things like that. It just kind of stresses me out unnecessarily. So personally, I don't love them, but I understand. My husband has opened with Arena Club before. He likes it. It's also nice because Arena Club kind of is like, for some people, I like the tactile nature of cards, but I know for some people, Arena Club is nice because it's all online. They can rip, they can store, they can trade, they can buy, they can sell. They like that it's all encompassing. So that's what people want to say is the future of the hobby. I know Brian Lee is a big collector, and he's really passionate about it. He is also a businessman, so it is a business venture, and their goal is to make money. But I do think that it is it's innovation for the hobby, and including vintage, I think, just makes it more well-rounded and actually maybe gives it a little bit more validity to, you know, pushing forward into the, future of the hobby with this technology, but including all aspects. So including vintage, including, TCG, including, the basic sports. So I'll go ahead and say 50 on this, but I understand why people might be skeptical and why it's, maybe frustrating or disappointing. So.
All right. Well, I'm going to say up front, I am not a gambler. I honestly remember the last time I just flat out bet on anything, even sports, was in 7th grade. I lost $20 because I picked the Broncos, and that was back when Elway was young and lost every Super Bowl. But this feels like such a scam. I feel like it's feeding on people's gambling addictions. It is with the video element. It's like video poker, with their whole process of instantly wanting to buy back from you. It's just going to be somebody putting in some amount of money, selling a card, buying whatever pack they can still afford again, selling the card, and so on until they get down to where they can't afford to buy another pack and they have to feed more money into it. What percentage of people actually going to be shipped a card from this? I would love to see those numbers. I think it is possibly less than 5%. I wouldn't have any doubt that from actually doing this product to a card being in someone's hands is less than 5. It could be as low as 1% even. But the whole aspect of it being completely not visible as far as what are really they giving away. I mean, maybe I should wear this here, but are they actually giving away any Grails at all? I would love to hear people come forward that aren't an influencer with their sample pack showing us how they won a Grail. Is it actually happening? A lot of this chat is either zeros or 50 that I'm seeing through our community here. So they either don't care or so, but all right. Next question though. Will there be any impact to the market for vintage cards? I've already heard from some of my friends that are in the fortunate benefit of being in the Northeast, so they get plentiful shows, unlike me in the Pacific Northwest that's a desert of shows. They are seeing that people are already buying up vintage cards from tables in this effort to prepare for this product. I think even Bonkers Cards is working directly with them as a buyer, even is the belief. So was that Gordy Bonker? Is that his name? So
I gotta interrupt you. Hearing a dealer with the last name of Bonkers is perhaps the best dealer name I've ever heard in my life.
So do you think, Rich, is going to have any effect on vintage cards at all? I mean, really, from a market perspective, when there's a big push from a repacker like this to buy cards?
I grew up in the Northeast. We have tons of vintage. Go to the National. There are tons of vintage. They're not buying every vintage card out there. I mean, it may have a minimal impact, and it may have some impact on a few selected cards, but in reality, there's more than enough vintage cards out there. So on that point, there's probably not really an impact. Just like Arena Club and what they do with the modern cards is not really an impact to the modern card market either. I mean, it's what's the percent of their sales? 0.5%, if that much. I mean, what's the real impact? I mean, it has a small impact, but you're not driving these cards out of circulation.
John Keating, didn't you win? Oh, okay, sorry. All right, Lauren, what are your thoughts on this? Do they really have any impact on the market? Because, I mean, I thought I had heard that the repack movement in modern was having an impact on cards, because I know it's a lot more plentiful with repacks that is driving prices up.
I mean, the thing with a lot of repacks is, it happens like live on Whatnot, or, it's a live break. So there's no real way to like most people are not going to be able to check that as a comp. I know it shows we have dealt with, people who are buying for repacks, and, they look at the comps, they understand, what they're looking for. If it is, just to kind of meet the price minimum, or, to seek out a grail. And, they pay strong. And again, it is a business venture. They're trying to make money. So, I don't think it'll have a big impact on vintage cards, but we don't deal in vintage cards. I don't know a lot about them, but in my understanding as an outsider of the vintage community, they're not easily swayed. Modern cards, I think, are more easily swayed by, hype or PR or whatever. And I don't think that Arena Club is necessarily bad for it. I don't think it will impact it greatly. I agree with Rich that it's, like 0.5% probably. And I mean, just like Rich said, also, like, if it gets people interested, I think the packs were $400. They were only available for, I think, 48 hours or until they sold out. Some people might be willing to take the risk at $400. I would not. I personally would not be willing to spend $400 to, like, not really understand the vintage market, what product I, could get. Like, I think the big chase was a Mickey Mantle, which is great, but it's, again, with the gambling element, a chase. The chances of me getting it are slim. And I wouldn't really know what to do with any other card. But there are some people who might say, I love Arena Club. I love, having my cards here. I can look at them. I can trade them. I can vault them. Let me dip my toe into vintage and see how I feel about it. And again, at the present question, I don't think it will impact the market, but it may impact somebody personally, that they, will have a little bit more interest. But I think it would be minimal, the number of people it would necessarily impact their collecting habits.
And to Lauren's point, I run a very small show. Stu, who's in the chat, set up at Memorial Day weekend at my show, and I know he had a good time. I know he didn't make quite as many sales as he wanted, but he had a good time. I've had 8 vendors sell out their tables at the last 5 shows, and it's not expensive sellouts. It's people buying, as Lauren said, for their Whatnot streams, and now maybe their eBay live streams, and it's the cheap cards. And there's no shortage of cheap cards. The dime cards, the quarter card. Oh my God! I've had 8 sellouts in 5 shows with a 20-table show. So I'm having, it's slightly less, but I'm going to say 10% of my vendors sell out over the last 2 years at my show, and it's that repack. I'll call it repack. It's not really, but it's to get the cards into a new market. So again, if this is getting somebody new in, and if Whatnot is getting new people in, it's not the worst thing in the world. It's not the best thing in the world. And we have a sophisticated audience in our chat. And hopefully those people start getting the same love for the hobby that our people in the chat do. And, they move on. But you've got to introduce them one way or the other. And if they get introduced through Whatnot, or they get introduced through Arena Pack, it's not the worst thing in the world.
All right. I'm happy to say that for the first time since Hobby Hotline has joined For Collectors, we have a call-in. We have Tony from TJ is Online. Welcome to the show, Tony.
Hello, everyone. Hopefully everyone's having a good morning.
TJ, you were supposed to be the original host of this.
I apologize. I had some conflicts of interest in this matter and some strong opinions. I just didn't feel like I was a good person to represent. But I do have some strong opinions that I'll share here.
Love to hear it.
So regarding the repacks, I understand where Rich is coming from. You know, it is a way to introduce folks into the hobby. Geez, when I came back, I got in 2018, left in 2019, came back in 2022 late, got into a couple repacks. Someone from PWCC was running them. I forget who. It wasn't any of the higher up names. And I think they were like $15 each. Not too bad, you know. And got a couple cards, nothing worthwhile. Sent one to SGC. It was a 71 Ernie Banks tops, and it came back color at it. Uh, you know, and then I was looking at Bonkers page, Vintage Breaks page, and I'll name them because it's all out there. And yes, I don't do Steve Jeltz repacks, but I will pump Steve Jeltz cards. And and I looked at the other repackers, and when you go on the Vintage Breaks portion of those sites, and there's more and whatnot, but you know, I looked at all the big ones. The cards that are in the vintage repacks, and please don't take any offense to this, they're trash. They're very off-centered, very low grade. They're usually BVG slabs. You do get the occasional SGC and PSA slab, but for the most part, they are the lower end. Now, I would love to own Mickey Mantles and Ernie Banks and Clemente and these other cards. But that's if you get lucky, you get those players. And if you do get those players and those cards from various sets, they're going to be like really bad copies. And those are usually the hits of those repacks. And we're not even going into the other players who you can get that, you know, would be out of a common box. So that's just my own opinion. And again, I named some folks that do and companies that do have the repacks that do repacks because it's all public info. You can see the cards for yourself.
Well, that was my first thought when I even saw this advertisement. Is now I know where all the low eye appeal cards are going to go. So
It's unfortunately true.
Because the folks that are savvy about it at all are willing to buy those and pay up for them, and it's tough to move those ones that don't look like the grade on the slab. So yeah.
Now there are some repacks and they have other names like raffles and other things. And I think that, you know, if you get into a set break, that's kind of a different area. I mean, you'll still get the low eye appeal cards for the most part, but at least you know exactly what you're getting, you know, because all the cards are listed in that set. John says there's not a bad copy of, yeah, okay.
They're
The
just
only
well
difference is,
loved, right? If they're
John, the only difference is though, John, if you wanted a 57 Clemente, you can pay what you want based on the card. If you pull that in a repack, most likely you're going to get like a PSA 1 looking card and you're paying $200 or $300 for it. That's the difference. That's why I made that comment. And you're right. And yeah, there is no bad vintage card. I do agree. But regarding going back to the set breaks, I think those are a different beast. You can do the math yourself and figure out, you know, like an 86 Flair basketball set break. You can figure out the math because you know Jordan is usually about half of the cost of the total sets if you know when they're sold, and you know what you're getting into. But when it comes to the individual pack cards that you have no idea what's in them, and they're just picking random cards out of the air, and honestly, you don't even know with some of these repackers if if the hits are really in those repacks. You want to
exactly, that's
believe
my
that they
point.
are.
You
Yeah.
don't to me it's very different when you're talking even vintage. Like a guy like Ash does run a vintage repack every so often, but he publishes the full list of these are the cards that are going to be in it. There's only this many spots. Once they all sell, it's done. And of course, he builds in some profit for himself. That's got to be assumed.
About 65% profit if you did the math. Yeah.
Yeah, which, it's probably more lucrative for him than selling cards, which is why he bothers to go through that effort, because it's a lot of work then to organize it and get them distributed and all the work involved. So,
But to be fair, he's very transparent. He tells you
yes,
exactly what's there and everything. And he has pictures of all the cards.
versus this, do we really know they're giving away any of the good stuff? I did have one more question on my slideshow that you can stick around here for, related to this topic.
People don't want to see my ugly mug, so I'll just.
You might want to answer this one. Should there be some form of regulation on this type of business? Because it feels like there should. There's no watchdog that monitors whether or not they're actually giving away any of the good stuff.
We have regulation on Walmart and on Wall Street. We have regulation in DC. We have regulation on all of our cities. And how's that really working out for us?
Yeah, I know.
So I would say I don't think it'll make much of a difference. But I'll let John Keating answer that one in the comments.
But shouldn't at least them not actually giving the big prizes away be illegal, even if there's nobody actually tracking it?
Yeah, but I'm a cynic, so I'll just say that they'll say that their friend will win it, and then we'll see it on eBay get defensively shelled up, so it doesn't matter.
All right, Lauren, I saw you nodding a little bit when I was saying that shouldn't it be regulated. What are you thinking?
I mean, I know that that's been a million years long debate. I do agree. I mean, like TJ said, there are some people who do repacks and they have a list and they have like, this is what we're hunting, but this is what's available. I think that's great. I think that transparency is important. And I don't remember, unfortunately, I don't remember if Arena Club does that or not, but they should. And I think that I talked to Brian Lee, I talked to Derek Jeter. They are passionate about this. It is a business. Its goal is to make money. But Brian Lee, at the end of the day, he is a collector, and this is how he wants to collect. And he thought maybe other people do, like his son. His son is, I think, about 14. So he was looking at his son and saying, "Is this how this generation would like to collect?" So I do think there should be some type of regulation, but I think it's at this point just going to be self-regulation of just the list, and here's what we're hunting, but here's what you could get. Decide for yourself if it's worth the value or not. So I saw somebody in the chat say, I could take $400 and just buy the vintage card that I want. That's true. That's true of anything. But if some people have that spare income and they're like, you know what, I like this. This is my, this is my interest. This is something, and I want to give it a go with vintage. I think that's a good thing. But I do understand the gambling element, and gambling is a slippery slope. And let's be honest, repacks and breaks, it has a gambling element to it. That's just the nature of it. So, and also Wall Street is regulated. There's a lot of things that are regulated that don't get enforced, and enforcement is the big thing. And who's going to enforce it? The community right now is the enforcer. And so, I mean, I think there is some sort of informal regulation already in place. The market decides whether it's worthwhile or not, and right now, the chat's kind of torn, or, just immediately zero does not like, and that's fine. But that's the decision of the community, and that's the regulation. And that's kind of the beautiful thing about the hobby that people love. So.
All right. Any last thoughts on this, Rich?
Oh, John, I'm sorry, John.
No, go ahead. I was going to your next. So
okay.
We're about to close out this topic.
Yeah. So I just want to say that I think we talked a little about this in the green room before the show. And I think one of the issues many people in the vintage world have about something like this is, in a way, this is what the new card world is the wax, the boxes are very expensive. And you're not guaranteed. In fact, the odds are pretty good you're going to lose money if you open new things. And how often do you hear, why don't you just wait to get the singles you want after the packs are opened? Because usually you want the A lot of people might want the $5, and I'll use Steve Jeltz since he's brought up. I know he's been out of baseball for, as long as Lauren's been alive, but because she's young. And, if you just want the Steve Jeltz cards of the world, there's no reason to buy packs looking for Steve Jeltz cards. But people want the thrill of getting the big hit from the box, or in the world of Panini, the Kabooms or the Downtowns, and then Topps, the Yamamoto debut patch card, which has never shown up, things like that. And that's what they want. And what people, I think, are objecting to is that brings that type of, I'll put air quotes around the word hype, into graded vintage cards, where people think that it should just be, you have the card graded and then you sell it. And this is a new way of getting it out there. And not everybody likes this type of change, and I'm okay with that. But I think that's what it is. I think in a sense, it's the 2025 world being brought into cards from the 50s and 60s. And that's a really tricky thing to have today's world for yesterday's cards.
Yeah, to me, I think this is just another thing where someone who actually loves the cards myself, it just contributes to that mindset where when I go to my crappy dying mall show occasionally and see every time I go a stack of base cards on the garbage can down the middle of the mall, every time I go, it makes me sick, as someone who actually loves the cards. So, and this is another where it's just all about the gamble. It's all about the adrenaline. I hate it. So,
John, I've brought this up when I've been on Dr. Beckett's podcast. My old friends Hans Jubelt and Henry Davis had a wonderful neighborhood store in Garfield, New Jersey. Mookie, I don't know if Mookie went to that store back in the day, but it was a wonderful, truly a neighborhood store. They had a coffee pot. They had a fireplace. I mean, it was truly the hot stove place to go to talk about baseball cards during the winter. 85, 86, the kids would buy their 85 Topps packs. And if they didn't get Gooden or Mattingly or Eric Davis, they left the pack. They left the rest of the cards on the counter. They were gambling their 50 cents. And that was one of the differences. Your BTE, your barrier to entry, was much lower in those days. But if they didn't get the cards they wanted, they left the cards on the counter. The H&H kept the cards. 1987, they had a booming business in selling those Olympic cards of Mike McGuire for $12, $15 each. Paid their rent for several months. buy cards that were left on the counter by the kids in 85 who didn't get what they wanted.
Yeah, me and my friends would have viewed those kids as idiots. We would have snatched up their cards because we would typically try to actually build the sets. So,
yeah, but I'm just pointing out that the guys who left the cards on the table, we said those were the store's cards. We didn't take them. They were, we would have bought them, but the store had the right to those cards, and boy, they did very well with them.
All right. I think it's time to move on. If you want to take off, TJ, thank you for being
everyone.
first.
Thanks
first
for having me on.
Brave enough to come on screen. That was awesome.
All right, bye.
All right, we're going into missing hobby grails now. I've got some samples of some of the big ones of the 2009 Superfractor Stephen Curry. The more recent 2024 Olympic Trio Auto, whatever it is, 101 of Steph Curry, LeBron, and Kevin Durant. And then a baseball card of Tom Brady. The big difference being where this is an out of 50, but it is apparently the one that is designated 12 out of 50, which makes it special with the TB12 thing. And is the only one apparently that has this added description. If baseball doesn't work out, there's always football. it's the only one apparently that got that extra writing on it. This is out of the 2023 Bowman Draft Baseball product. So, some of the famous ones we're talking over time here. Basketball's the primary one on this, where we've got the 2003 Upper Deck Ultimate Collection LeBron James Logo Man Auto 101. That's already a premium product to begin with, and so that's not exactly something the everyday person was buying anyways, but that has not been found. Apparently there's a horizontal version that's already sold for a ridiculous amount during COVID, like 5.2 million. And this is a vertical one that hasn't been found that is more desirable. So even though we're not in COVID, it might still sell for over $5 million. Then there's that Stephen Curry already showed. A Prism Black 101, a Luka Doncic, then the Olympic card already mentioned. We've even got this, then the baseball, the Tom Brady card. Hockey has one with Connor Bedard, I think is how you pronounce it. Not exactly a hockey follower. His 101 special card, and then the most high profile, I believe, American soccer player at the moment, Kylian Mbappe, with his 2017 101 Superfractor. So my first question on this topic is, so what is the impact of the fact that these cards have not been found on an open product? Because I know that even there's some current modern sets, like the recent, was it Dodger pitcher Yamamoto, where there's some special card of his that hasn't been found as well now. So how much does that now impact the reselling of these unopened products?
I can tell you from real life experience, I was in one of the triple cards, because they have like 16 or 18 stores around the world now, including one in Singapore. But and some of them are called wax. The original thing was triple cards. And I was at Triple Cards North Dallas, I believe, for one of their events. And they had a 2018 Panini box with the chance of the unfound Luka Doncic card in it. And I think the person paid $2,000 for the box. And gladly went for it. You might think it's more money than common sense, but they went for it. And I think that's a case. In fact, when I was at the Dallas Card Show last week and sitting with my friend Ryan, owner of RJ Dukes, there's actually two of the Curry. There's one from the Tops Now, I believe, and one from PAX of Curry, LeBron, and I forgot who the third person was. Durant signed cards, one from Tops Now and one in PAX. And the person was actually willing to pay whatever if Ryan had any of the boxes, they would have paid whatever probably he wanted for the box. And I thought there was only one of them out there. There are two of them out there. So it certainly gooses up the price of anything unopened that has these potential grails in it.
All right, Lauren, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen the impact on, prices of these cards, like how they impact the product, because, some like you said, the LeBron product that was already, a high end at that time, like exquisite at the time. It was unheard of that you would, like sell a product for X number of dollars, and now they're going for like 5-6 figures. So it definitely does have an impact. I guess the Olympic card, kind of the cool thing about that is, with it being like a Tops Now release, is that everybody's entry is the same price, and you can't really, I mean, it is weird that it hasn't been pulled yet. I guess, I guess the thing that I kind of think about with that, with that specific one that people have been seeking out for a year, that's kind of the point of like that Tops Now, is that a moment happens, you collect it, you get it, and you see if you get, the big one or one you want, or, like if it's a nice card, you're happy to get the base, whatever. But that I think for a lot of people, they thought, well, obviously it's going to be inserted because they're only printing as much as they sell. So that somebody is going to get that card. I think a lot of people felt it, leveled the playing field. And the fact that it's still missing, I think casts a lot of doubt for people. I think it's kind of a bad thing that it hasn't surfaced because, like with the, what we just discussed with the Arena Club repacks, is it there? Is it actually an option? Is it actually possible? Or is it, on a shelf somewhere or being saved for, some, like that distrust. I felt like that was kind of one of the beautiful things about Tops Now. And with that card still missing, it's weird because like, the Luca, the Steph Curry, the Steph Curry, it's like, obviously that one's out there. That was not like a holy grail for that product, So like that mystery is really intriguing and exciting, but the triple auto from the Olympics, it not being out there yet, nobody making a big deal about it. I think it's very suspicious for a lot of people in the hobby. So, not necessarily impact on the price, but definitely an impact on the trust that people have, which I know people in chat are going to say there is none with Fanatics, but there are some people who are not so cynical and who want to believe that like there's a new a new way forward, and this is one of them. But with that card not showing up, I mean, I myself, I'll speak personally, it worries me. It bothers me that it's not out there, and somebody might just be sitting on it. That's possible, but it's not, because it's a redemption, so they have to contact the company, and the company has said it's not been redeemed yet. So I don't love that, but yeah, I don't know.
Well,
Lauren,
it is actually possible that it hasn't been opened because there was 590,000 copies sold, and there is now a very active flipper market for the unopened packages. So
I couldn't remember because I think we did buy some. I couldn't remember if they were packs or not, because a lot of them that they come in like a plastic case, like it's a hard-sided plastic case. And so I could not remember. But yeah, there's packs. So like, plastic case, if you buy them, and you get to sift through and see like if you got it numbered or whatever. And also I think that I think that adds to the trust. But the pack, that gambling, that mystery aspect, I think that it obviously increases the value, but I think it kind of lowers the trust. So.
And I'll go back to the Paul Skeens card from last year. The story seemed too perfect of how the card was pulled. But The Athletic, the otherwise known as the New York Times sports section, actually found the people who pulled the card. And they did an interview with them to show where it was. And I can tell you that, and we'll talk about this as a segue to our next topic too. But one of the things is, as I talked about triple cards, one thing they do is Secret Santa every year. And the first year they had Secret Santa, I had one of my local dealer friends, and I was his Secret Santa. And he and his son took home what I gave them, which was a Pokemon box. And they pulled like some $500 card from the Pokemon box on Christmas Day. They didn't open it that night. Mostly you open it the night of the event, but they actually took it home. So it is plausible. The story seemed too perfect. It just happened to be true. So there are people who will save packs to open on Christmas Day or boxes. And that's what happened with the Skeens card. But, at least that showed up. The Yamamoto card has not shown up. Again, it's a redemption. So that's why Fanatics use the verbiage, it has not been redeemed yet.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, with the gamblification of what's going on, it has a huge impact on price. So I'm going to move on to the next question. Does the fascination with these cards show that opening a pack is now comparable to buying a lottery ticket?
I think this is what the whole show's been about.
Yeah.
Between Arena Club and this is what the show's been about. And it's always been that way. I mean, and as I talked about the 1985 example, it's been that way. It's always been that way. It's now just the price points are a lot higher. The tops now price point I think was $10 a pack or something like that for the Durant, Curry, LBJ autograph card. So that was a lower price point. But I mean, the opening a pack has always been a bit of a lottery ticket. It's just now it's a much more expensive ticket. Instead of $1, it's $100 in a lot of cases.
Yeah, clearly the answer is yes. Okay, sorry about that. All right. Do you think these cards have actually been found? Now let's put on conjecture here.
Right, bring back the tinfoil hat. I mean, I think, I don't know. I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist, but I mean, I truly genuinely think that the Steph Curry foil fractor, I think somebody said it's like sitting in somebody's binder.
I like these
mom's
two
basement.
comments. I starred them as they came
Yeah,
in. That Curry's sitting in a
absolutely. I
binder down
agree.
in mom's basement with Kool-Aid stains on it, and been saying for years that Super Steph is in a shoebox in a closet somewhere, maybe not even in a penny sleeve, because Steph Curry wasn't one of the big rookies that year initially. So, yeah,
he was like the 7th pick. So like, like it could be something, but nobody was like over the moon for it. Now it could still be in product, sure, but I do think it's just like somebody pulled it and it's sitting in a box or a binder somewhere, and one day it will appear. That's my beautiful Cinderella story for it. But yeah, I don't know. I want to hear what you and Rich think about it, John, because I've already talked enough about how I feel about the triple auto.
What do you think, Rich?
I would love to have it. The price, as I said, the price point to get in was good. I did not buy any, but it's not the worst thing in the world. It's a cool card anyway. If all you get is the one card and it's the normal card, it's still a nice looking card. So it's fine. It's a good memory for us. It's a great card of 3 first level, first ballot Hall of Famers. And I'd love for it to show up. It'll show up someday. That's one will show up someday, because if it never shows up, then that's like, where is it? You put such fanfare into it, so it will show up. It may show up in time for the 28 Olympics, but it'll show up.
Well, and I wonder too, like, what's their expiry on it too? Like, what if nobody does redeem it? Like, is it just gonna sit? Or
I think I've heard it was 10 years.
But I think in that case they may. I think in a special case like that, if you pull it 12 years, I think somebody will figure out a way to get you the card. Because could you imagine the bad publicity? You pull the card in 2036, and no, you can't have it anymore. It's way too the redemption's long gone.
Well, I would think the market would collapse on reselling them once you get close to that 10-year mark. So.
They might make an exception. I think that's the type of card they'll make an exception for and say, we'll get it to you.
Right. It's interesting. It'll be interesting to see how it pans out. Hopefully it does pan out, maybe within the next 10 years. I don't know. We'll see.
All right. Let me get ready for my answer. I would say for most of these, yes. I think right now they are in the hands of moneyed interests that have a vested interest in the high price of the unopened products. I think those folks have got their hands on it and do not want to lower the value of the things that they are selling and pushing. So there you go. That's my belief in how above board this hobby is at the moment. So
tell us how you really feel.
Thanks. All right, let's keep going. Hobby health and our holiday plans. So to kick things off here, let's start with Rich. And from 0 to 100, what do you think of the current health of the hobby and why? So
60 to 70, it's very strong.
Chat, feel free to give your number on this one here too.
But there are definitely winners and losers. What's going on? And in our eternal chat, I do a weekly DFW newsletter. If you want to put into the chat, if you live close to DFW and you want to see what's going on in DFW on a weekly basis, put your email address in. I don't need to know anything more than that. And there are some stores that are doing great. I pointed out that my friends at Triple, they just opened, they have like 18 stores around the world now. They just opened another one. I know that Secret Santa thing's going to go well. My friend who owns the new version of Nick's sports cards, there's things going on with them that were behind their control, but they're trying to get X amount of money to sell a stake in their store to keep them going through the holiday season and beyond. And so they're struggling. My friend Scott in Fort Worth, who owned a store called American Dreams, he's transitioning. He's about my age. He's transitioning towards doing less. So he took the store from basically nothing, and he's got a nice little store now, and it was bought out in the last week. And so those people the question is, did he sell near the top, or are those people, buying too high? So there are a lot of things. There are 2 shows today, 1 show tomorrow. Bo Jackson signing at a show for the Dallas Card Show people by the DFW airport. There's another show about 15 minutes from my house, which I will go to at the end of this show. And then there's a show tomorrow. And then we have 2 weeks in Dallas without any shows, and the DFW without any shows, which is shocking to me. Nature abhors such a vacuum that we have 2 weeks without shows. The Saturday and Sunday of Thanksgiving weekend here is really a good weekend to do a show because you've got the Cowboys play Thursday. You're not going to have the Cowboys on Sunday. And so you could do a Sunday show, or you can do a Saturday show. You can do a Friday, Saturday, Sunday show. So I'm a little surprised nobody did that. And that's why I'm saying it's a 60 or a 70, where it's not off the charts. It's not 2020 COVID, like everybody's getting to it, but it's certainly more positives than negatives.
All right. What do you think, Lauren?
I think, sorry, excuse me. Initially, when you asked, I was thinking like 70, 75. And I know, I know everybody's number is going to be personal to them and, how their week has gone. I know last week was kind of a gut punch for a lot of people. So it's, they're still kind of processing that. But I do think overall, I think the hobby's doing well. I think people are excited about, I'm big into basketball. Basketball is back. NBA is back. And Topps has the license, and that's been exciting. That's the beginning of the season is always so exciting because you get to see what's been going on in the off season. And, since we've been traveling, we stop at Walmarts and local card shops and we pick up, the new Topps basketball and, see what we can get. And we pulled a rookie auto, on the Spurs. I can't remember his name. I'm sorry. But, that was exciting for us. So like we're doing well, but I do know last week when I was listening, to the podcast and stuff, I know we're trying to kind of avoid that, but I watch Crossover whenever it comes on from Card Ladder. And I think they really, discussed it well. And I think hearing from other people, I think the hobby is doing great. I think these high profile stories, it feels like it's at a zero, but I think, as we kind of digest it together and discuss it and, kind of find camaraderie in it, I think overall we're doing well. And we're heading into the holiday season. So, hopefully we'll get another feel good story of somebody opening a box on Christmas. And, I think overall we're doing okay. We're hanging in there. So.
All right. Thanks. Now for me, I really like what John Keating commented here, saying hobby always at 100%, industry hovering in the single digits. Because I would say that, it feels like prices are strong, but after this recent hubbub, there's a question mark of why they're so strong. So, but, I do feel like one of the positives that resulted from this whole controversy is how, like, almost everybody that doesn't have a deeper moneyed interest has coalesced around this issue and is a united front that this is just plain wrong. So I do love that aspect of what has happened, whether it's, vintage people, modern people. We all seem to be united if we're not in the payroll pocket of somebody that's more of a shady character. So that is one thing I like, but at the same time, it is exposing the underbelly to me. So that's that. I really like Keating's comment that I love most of the people that are from the collector side, and I don't trust the industry is where I'm at. So next question on that front. If you had authority, what changes would you make so the hobby could be healthier? You want to take this one first, Rich?
That's a great question that I honestly do not know the answer to, because you'd have to change human nature. I mean, part of me would love to go back to the 70s and the wild, wild west of the 70s pricing when you were throwing numbers out and hoping for the best. Now, at least you have some guidance, and you can make your own decisions based on what evidence you think you have. And at least you can make educated guesses. In those days, you were sort of gambling and hoping for the best when it came to pricing stuff. I mean, what are you going to do? Are you going to tell we've already had how the manufacturers have to put odds on their boxes or on the packs? Are you going to tell people they can't do repacks? Are you going to tell people they can't, quote, overcharge at a show? Because if your definition of overcharging may not be my definition. If, what they talked about Steph Curry scoring 49 last night. Now, if he was a young guy and that was, his breakout game, his card prices are going to increase the next day. What are you going to do? Complain saying, though, your prices are too low based on the comps from 2 weeks ago after he just lit up the Spurs for 49? What can you do to really fix it? And I'm just saying that is that we went through that in 2020, 2021. And, it's like, for example, we cannot play God, and it's not my job to play God. I listened to Mike Moynihan's podcast this morning where he talked about, God give me the serenity to not worry about things I can't change, as part of what he thought about the hobby. But he also mentioned he had barbecue lunch with a mutual friend of ours, a nice young man from the DFW area, and he's working on a project. He's collecting vintage cards, but he's also working on a project with his two very young kids of collecting all the Rangers flagship cards from 72 to the present, which is actually a very doable project. It's not going to send anybody to the poorhouse. Your toughest card is going to be the 72 Rangers high number team card, number 668. But it's a fun project. It was on his want list, by the way. And then he was wondering why the 79 Topps Bumps Wills was on it. And I told him about the variation with the Blue Jays and Rangers. He goes, that explains that, why that one's not on, why I haven't on that one yet. But you could tell the love, how he enjoys the hobby. And if he pays $0.25 for a card that's worth $10, do you really think he's going to care? And I think that's one of the whole things, is that maybe the only change I would make is try to have people bring back the joy of being in the hobby. And that's human nature. And most of the people have joy. And if you have the joy of the hobby, then that's 90% of the battle. And that would be the change that I would make, is try to make the hobby fun. I mean, the card shows today in the DFW area, both of them have free admission. I mean, for crying out loud, you don't have to pay. I can walk into a store. I mean, I'm lucky in DFW. I have a lot of stores now. I don't have to pay to get in. I can look at cards. I can, I work for ComC, so I'm just going to say this. If I really wanted to see something, I can go to the ComC website. I don't need anything special to do this. I can go to the ComC website and I can look at the front and back of any card I want. One day, many years ago, I was still writing for Sports Collectors Daily in those days. My wife was doing something where she was taking a test, and I literally had to stay in my office all day on my computer. I just reviewed the 68 top set card by card. Didn't cost me a penny to go down memory lane. Just bring back the joy. And that's really the thing.
All right. How about you, Lauren?
Yeah, I agree. I think Rich is right that like the personal journey is what brings you the most joy, and there can be a lot of outside noise, but I think also part of it is to, like respect that that's how people collect, that like they are happy just looking at cards or just sifting through cards. They don't have to they don't have to get a big hit. They don't have to, spend a lot of money. I think just finding the joy and respecting people's joy is also, like I think that would make excuse me, make it better across the board, because I also think that um the commercialization and all the businesses and stuff, I think sometimes we get weighed down and bogged down in that, and it does steal the joy a little bit, and it shouldn't. It shouldn't. It should be positive and it should be joyful. And I saw that 70s card show said, imagine being jazzed about pulling a rookie auto player and you can't remember a few days later. What a thrill. It was a thrill, but it was, there's a lot of other things going on in my life too. And it was weeks ago. And it was joyful and it was thrilling. And I can't remember the name. And that doesn't ruin the experience for me. I was brave in admitting that I didn't remember a rookie's name from a team I don't follow. But we were opening and we weren't seeking them out, and it was a great hit and it was fun. And like, is it the grail for us? Is it, the rookie from the Magic that I might have been seeking? No, but it was fun. And I opened it together with my husband, and we have fun doing that. And I just agree with Rich that like if we can just all find the joy in each other's experience too, and Orlando being healthy and being back and collecting, that really brings me joy. That really that really makes me happy that people are out there enjoying the hobby and people rallied around him. And yeah, I mean, do you want me to address that comment that you put up or not? I mean,
Which one?
about I was attracted to the price of the auto.
The money.
That's the joy I found.
Yeah.
All right. Well, maybe that's your experience. It wasn't mine. It was cool. It's always exciting to pull a rookie auto. It was, I think it was a gold out of 50. Sorry, another detail I can't nail down. But that's where you found the joy in it. I found the joy in that we pulled a rookie that has a bright future ahead. And my husband and I love the sport. We did it together. And yeah, if that's not joyful for you, that I had a fun experience, then sorry, hopefully making money on the back end will bring you joy. I don't know.
And to be fair, the price point, if you got that at Walmart in a blaster box or out of packs, is very reasonable. I know Adam Palmer, one of our hosts, who does a wonderful daily podcast called Daily Nonsense. Used to be Sports Collectors Daily, but now he does it for Sports Collectors Nonsense, Sports Card Nonsense. And I like listening to him because they're short bursts. And he's pointed out, or it's either him or Sports Card Dad has pointed out, print the Topps cards to the moon. This is their flagship product. They're back. There's going to be no shortage. The box prices are going to be very affordable at Walmart when you get them. The fact that you got a nice card out of it is great. But you would have enjoyed Lauren, I have a feeling you and your husband would have enjoyed the box just as much without getting the rookie autograph.
Yeah, we weren't hunting that and we found it, and that's awesome. But I agree, the price point is pretty reasonable. And it's just fun. And yeah, I think somebody said in the comment, it's fun to collect with your spouse. It really is. Like, that part of my journey really brings me joy, that my husband and I can bond over it. And it's not, he's annoyed with me because I'm, always thinking about or talking about cards, or I'm annoyed with him because, because I know that happens with a lot of partners. They don't get it or they don't respect it. And I'm really happy that part of my journey is collecting with, my spouse and finding joy just in looking at like, we just love the cards. They're actually really beautiful. I think they did a great job on the design. You know, there's some cards that, like, there's a card of Paolo Banchero and Jalen Suggs, and just the base of them, it's just a joyful card. And I love that. Like, we were seeking that out, and I have stacks and stacks of base cards right now because I just love the cards. And we did luck out. We did get a really great auto, and you know, we were fortunate. But that's like Rich said, that's not what we were seeking. We were just excited. It's a flagship product. We wanted to see it. We wanted to see the design. We wanted the experience, the tactile experience. And I think it is a good thing that flagship product is out there, and it's the beginning of the season. And I think the hobby is in a good space. You know, there's some like spikes here and there that, you know, maybe get us all flared up, but I think overall we're doing okay.
All right. As far as the opening packs question, I do harken back to, it was awesome back in 1990 with some of my buddies opening the Score baseball, because we were all looking for the Bo Jackson with the bat over his shoulders card. And every time we, open one of those, we'd be screaming like the stupid breakers do all the time now. But none of us were selling those cards to anyone. I still have the stack of 6 of them that I got, from that era. And so there's joy in just getting the cards of people because Bo was a badass. So, and we loved, that card because it was such an iconic image. But, as far as this actual question, to me, it all boils down to one word of, I would love there to be integrity in this hobby. And that is, twofold of honesty and transparency as a result. So, across the industry, I mean, the manufacturers, even, I know a lot of people would love it if they publish the actual total print counts. I've heard numerous people try to do their own guesstimate calculations of that. All they give us, give the public is, the pot odds or whatever, the pack odds. But why not just give us the print run count? Be transparent about that. The grading companies, why so secretive with your process? Secretive of how your grades are derived. It's obvious to many people the standards have changed and they can't even admit it. Just be honest. And then the whole repack industry, I wish it was illegal to not just have repacks that there wasn't a set checklist and they're going to give every card away that's on that checklist. This shady, the not knowing if they're actually going to give away the good cards or not just doesn't fly. Even auction houses, I am going to specifically target my future business on auction houses that have explicitly in their terms and conditions that a bidder cannot bid on their own cards, and the house is never going to tweak a bid either. The fact that so many of them don't even bother to put this in their terms bothers me. And there's even one of them, Heritage, out there, explicitly allows consignor bids. It's insane. I know it is allowed in their jurisdiction of Texas, but that doesn't mean it's right. So honesty, transparency, that's what the damn hobby needs. So
John, to your point, I believe Jeremy Lee is actually doing a breakdown of every auction house and all their rules.
Yeah, I tried to do that. I did a video with 15 of them. I've since been suggested of 4 more that weren't on my radar. I've added it to a spreadsheet. I actually have a Google sheet of my findings that people can reference, available if people are interested. So of all the different terms. I list out what their juice percentage is, the rules as far as their auction closing, and whether or not they have outlined yes or no to consignor or house bids. So, but one last question I got on here. Oh, actually, it's any plans for either of you head into the holidays now?
Well, I'd love to see what the chat says. As I've pointed out, I've signed up already, but I don't have to actually pay my money for another couple weeks for my Secret Santa thing at the local card store. And their party will be Saturday night, December 13th. I've already told my wife that is a day we have to, we cannot have anything on the calendar because I'm going to be there. So she already knows that, unless she wants to come with me, that's a day where I'm not available for her, to go out to dinner on Saturday night, which is when we normally do. And so she knows that's cleaned out. And that's always a fun event. You open packs, you're with other things. It's really a community thing. And it's a lot of fun. Last year I pulled some Paul Stukes autograph card that I got a good percentage back from the store that basically paid for my entire entry into the whole thing and made me a profit. So it's the gambling where I actually won, and I walked out with more money in my pocket than I walked in with. So I can't complain about that. I don't anticipate that happening this year, so I'm not saying that will. But the point is, that's a great plan for the holidays. That we're very lucky, and I think more card stores and even card shows need to do not just trade nights, but things like that where you have community type events. The trade nights are as much at the Dallas Card Show, and Kyle and his team do a great job. But if you're in the Starlight Room and a part of the Starlight Room, that's part of your business, is to set up at the table on trade night. And I mean, should trade night be trade night, or should trade night be a sell night? They
all turn into sell nights because it's so hard to line people up with the cards they specifically want with each other. I mean,
but the point is, that's like a show in itself.
Yeah, I mean, it's trading for cash.
It's trading for cash, yeah. And but I think more shows, more stores should be doing more holiday-based things. And it doesn't have to. It could be Christmas, it could be Hanukkah, it could be Kwanzaa, it could be whatever the term they used on Steinfeld over the years. And whatever it is, I think it's just fun to do some community event. And I wish there would be more of that, because we need more hobby community events.
I just want to respond real quick to this one comment. I want a hobby hotline where the entire hour discusses set, team, player collecting. That is basically what happens in the rest of the content on this channel. This is specifically like a hobby news show. So if you're looking for any of this stuff, look at all the rest of the shows we produce on this channel. So, but go ahead, Lauren.
Agree with Rich. I think the holidays is a great time to, bring the community together. We have a great local card shop that I really do enjoy when we do Topps Rip Night and stuff. It's fun. It's people of all ages. It's people that, my husband's kind of smack dab in the middle. There are people who have been watching him collect since he was a little kid, the last 30 years. And then there's people he was collecting with who are bringing their kids in now. And it's fun to see that full range of people. And, the holidays are a good time to kind of get together and check in with each other. So we are going to be on the road until about mid-December. So our plans are mostly to just keep on our road trip and stop at some Walmarts along the way and grab some Topps basketball and, maybe if we're lucky, some of the Disney just for a little fun. So, but I do agree with Rich. The holidays are a great time to get your hobby community together and just check in with one another and enjoy it. And, bring your spouse along or don't. Either way, I think they'll have a good time. They'll be welcomed with open arms. So I think this is a good time to kind of, and also I think it's good to, people look at their New Year's resolutions. I'm trying to kind of figure out what I want to do in 2026 as far as collecting, as far as my card art. You know, I want to have some like more organization and goals, more than I had this year to, you know, to just do better. I feel like I, you know, had to step away from the hobby a little bit. And I really want to take the time over the next couple of months to, or month and a half, to evaluate what 2026 is going to look like for me and my hobby experience. So.
All right. It's not specifically for me, but I did want to draw attention to the fact that coming soon, for collectors folks, Dan's Vintage Baseball PC and Sammy Thunder, who live in New York City, are working with a entity there to arrange for a vintage trade night. I know it ends up being selling a lot of cases, but they're working with an entity there, and I don't think the details have been released yet, but it is coming in the next month or so. So if you're anywhere near New York City, you might want to check that out. So should be
John,
a gathering.
there's a lot of discussion on that already on the Net 54 vintage chat boards.
Oh, cool.
So I mean, so anybody who wants to go to Net 54, I don't remember the exact name of the title. I can look it up, but there's a couple. There's also one in Virginia. In fact, if you give me a minute, I'll look up I'll click, in which I know some people don't always want me to do, but I'm going to click and get the title of it for you all.
Well, in the meantime,
I know it's there. Give me a second. Yeah, maybe I can't find it immediately, but I know it's up there. I thought it was on page 1. Let me go to page 2.
well,
But we're definitely discussing it, which is good, and I'm following it. And
well, me personally, I am going to be attending my second ever Portland, Oregon front row card show that's coming December 6th, 7th. I caught the first one almost a year ago. The second one aligned directly with Hobby Palooza, so I couldn't make it. The first one was in a room that was way too small at our Oregon Convention Center, and it was jam-packed. You could barely squeeze through the aisles. It felt almost as bad as the second floor of the National this year. Not quite, but pretty damn close. And I am hoping that it is in a bigger room at the convention center. We do have a decent-sized convention center that is right kind of across the street from where the Trailblazers play.
Okay.
And I'm hoping they have a bigger space for that. So I'll see. You know, it's hopeful that we can get something going in the Northwest with a real show as opposed to our 40, 50 tables in a dying mall. So,
okay, I did check. It's something like it's the exact verbiage is upcoming vintage trade night in New York City, early 2026, and it's Sammy Thunder who began the thread on Net 54. So it's very much out there.
All right, cool. And you know, outside of that, there's not a lot hobby I have access to where I live. So, unfortunately, so.
Well, I'm on my way to hobby when we sign off. So thank you for the great chat, everybody. I'm looking forward to next week. Very much.
Well, I
so.
did have one last question for you though, Rich. Do family members actually get you holiday related gifts, or do you end up having to buy something for yourself?
Anything I buy for myself, unless I specifically unless my wife gets me a gift certificate somewhere.
Well, Lauren, it sounds like your husband is linked in with this, so I assume there would be a mutual back and forth between the two of you then.
Yeah, his his standards are sometimes a little bit out of my price range, so it's usually wax that I have to get him. But yeah, the last couple of years I've been very Coco Gauff rich, and I'm very fortunate that I do get hobby related gifts. And yeah, and his dad also a couple years ago got him. We don't we don't really do baseball, but his dad got him a box of baseball, and he pulled a Paul Skeens card, which when he was not Paul Skeens yet, and yeah, that card is long gone and definitely is worth more than when we actually sold it. But yeah, it's kind of for some people, it's an easy go-to to just kind of, get some wax for us to open. And it's just fun. We get to sit there and we get to talk about it and show off. And yeah, when people ask like, oh, what did Brian get you for Christmas? I, get to say, well, how much time do you have? Let me show you my entire Coco Golf collection that I'm very, very passionate about. So, yeah, usually, and it's kind of, in our house, it's a what's yours is mine situation. So we're both, just really happy to, if we do buy wax, it's usually, for both of us, buying for me, buying and buying for you. So.
All right. For me, my wife does not attempt anything card specific, but I am fortunate enough that every t-shirt I own is card related in large part to her effort. So thank you, honey, for keeping me stocked in card themed t-shirts. So, but now we're on to final thoughts, Rich. Now you can wrap things up.
All right. Well, thank you. Sorry, I didn't. We've gone into significant overtime, which is fine. Yeah, I'm on my way to the Frisco Card Show, which in typical Texas thing is actually on the border of Frisco and Texas and Plano. And it's actually in Plano, Texas, even though it's the Frisco Card Show, because I didn't want to drive to the airport. Because if I drove to the airport, I couldn't have been on the show today. So I'll just go to Frisco. It's a shorter, easier trip to get to. And as I said, it'll be fun. I don't have to pay. I may or may not buy any cards. I'll enjoy the show. Then I'll go for a walk in the mall, and then I'll just come home and chill and watch some hobby videos for the rest of the day. So it's a fun hobby day. And tomorrow I'll do my ComC, and my ComC work week is usually like Sunday to Thursday. So tomorrow morning I'll be back at work playing, looking and IDing cards and fixing stuff in the ComC database. So I mean that's a pretty good hobby weekend, I believe.
All right, Lauren, how about you? Any last thoughts?
This was a really great show. I know we had to touch on the sore subject a couple of times, but hopefully people did enjoy the show, and next week you are willing to listen and not just yell into the void. And yeah, just keep enjoying what you're doing. Just like Rich, just have a good day full of cards. Just watch videos, go through shoe boxes, just enjoy it. And everybody just take care of yourselves. Be easy on yourselves. Just enjoy it.
All right.
John, you get to close out. You get to close us out.
Big thanks to the chat. This show is much better because of you. So definitely tune in next week. I'm wondering what the attendance will be. I think it might be a wild show. So, but then everybody out there, don't forget to use special code for your slab pack. No.
Right, well, to show you how big it is, I decided, and I don't know the metrics, but YouTube lets you know how many views every podcast has or every webcast has. So I looked up Dr. Beckett's things this morning for fun. And normally, even the ones I've been on with him, and and I'm going to defend the good doctor. I worked for him, so I'm very prejudiced on the subject. Overall, he's a good man. He touched a third rail. Even though he didn't do anything wrong, he touched the third rail he probably would have been better off not touching. But the sheer number of views on YouTube have been like, when we've done like 58 top set chat, maybe 100 people. Shill Bidding's Thoughts Part 3, 750 views. That tells me that, boy, we're going to have a good chat next week. I'm here for that.
A lot of people here who have never watched a single thing on this channel before.
Yes.
So
get them to sign up and subscribe.
So, all right, it's time to wrap it up. Thank you, everybody. We will see you next time on Hobby Hotline and For Collectors. Thank you very much.
Boom boom skibbity